recorded so far? Yeah, okay. We started the recording. Anyway, Elisa, just like the last time, your footage actually helps me and build up exactly what I what my plan is to do, because you have to understand, for Israelis, every little pond is an Olympic pool. Every little creek is the mighty Jordan River and the Mississippi all together. Okay, so when you see something like that for Israelis, it's huge. Okay, so we will start, and again, our topic today is the fall of the Northern Kingdom, the fall of Israel, of ancient Israel, and I'm going to move back and forth from my presentation to lovely footages of the north and the sites that we're going to visit. And chronologically speaking, we're supposed to start with this, then go to Lachish and King Hezekiah and Isaiah. Okay, it just happened this way, but this is would really explain how it happened, how the pressure of the Assyrian army and the Assyrian Empire changed affected the politics here in Israel and Judea, in ancient Israel and Judea, and ultimately led to a huge corruption that ended with the destruction of the first temple that was built by Solomon on the 9th of Av. Just like Elisa said, we're in that time period that marks, now I remember why we did that. We did it because of Yud Zayin B'Tammuz. That's why we started with that in the last time. So anyway, the point is that we're talking about the 8th century. We're talking about a huge prophets like Hosea. Hosea, by the way, he was the teacher of all the other prophets in his time. Isaiah, who was the teacher of Isaiah, Amos, Micha. He's their teacher. So Hosea, we're surely going to talk about him and about Amos. So that's our plan for today. At this point, the kingdom of Israel is divided. We're going to talk about how it was divided, but I just want, before we get to Dan, the city of Dan, I'll just go to the northern end of the southern end of the northern kingdom, which is Bethel. Okay, Bethel was the border between Judea and Israel at that time. There's not a lot to see over there, but this is one of the this is an area there's a little settlement over there called Bethel, and this is some of the archaeological sites near it that we consider as the ancient part of Bethel. Not a lot to see over there. Then we have the city of Nablus, Shchem. Okay, in Samaria, in ancient Israel, what was called Samaria. There were actually 3 capitals, not just one. Shchem is one of them. Nablus now is Nablus, but there is also 2 others. We talked about it a little bit in the last time. One is called Tirzah, and the other one is called Shomron. These are Shomron. This is where the word Samaritan is coming from. So the capital of the Israelite northern kingdom moved from one place to the other: Shchem, Tirzah, and Shomron. Just above Shchem, above Nablus, we also have this altar dated back to the days of Joshua. So this is again one of the most amazing finds that we have since the 70s. This altar, this massive altar. You can see they're walking on the ramp. It goes up to this stage, and this is where they used to sacrifice. Not very impressive, as I said, also in Bethel, but this is the first temple period remnants of Shomron, the city of Ahab, okay, city of King Ahab. So that's from that area, that time period. So again, before we go up to Dan, I'm just trying to show you the map and the political situation. Just to a little recap I know that Georgia was not here the last time, so just a little recap of what we were talking about. Basically, we have King Solomon. He's the last one that had the united kingdom of Israel and Judah, all the 12 tribes together. And after his days, Jeroboam, I'll read you the verses later, but Jeroboam rebels against them and rebels against Rehoboam, and he decides to take the northern tribes with him. So Bethel on the north and the southern end of it, and Dan, which is approximately over here, that's where Dan is. Now, the political situation is this. We have the Egyptians, the Egyptian Empire on the south. We have the Assyrian Empire. If you look in the right corner over here, the Assyrian Empire is growing dramatically, is conquering parts of Babylon, conquering parts of the Aramean kingdom. And then they start to press and have more and more pressure on this region. Now, all the coalitions in between are organizing, they're just trying to gamble on the right horse, right? Some goes with Assyria, just like Ahaz, the father of Hezekiah. We talked about it on the last session. And some goes with the Egyptians, okay, with the pharaohs, basically, although the pharaohs are not as strong as they used to be. But this is the background, the political background that we have. It's like the Cold War, you can say. You have two superpowers, and in between, all the other members, all the other states, all the other kingdoms, trying to find their way in this complicated situation. Okay, I wanted to show you these. This is Baal, one of the famous gods of the false gods of the Bible, and now I'm going up to his domain. Okay, so let's start with this one, and let's see how good I am with. I'm constantly trying to improve my skills. I'm sorry, but I'm not as good as I want to be. But let's start with sharing Omer's lovely footage of the Hermon Mountain, and I want to explain to you a few things. So again, thank you, Omer, for helping us with that. Omer is a very talented photographer. Every time I see some of his works, I'm so impressed.
It was a great hike too.
Yeah. So this is it. So South Falls. This is the Hermon Mountain over here, overlooking the Hula Valley. Okay, take a look at how green it is. Okay, so on your trips to Israel, usually people, Israel is a desert country. Yeah, more than 55% of the country, probably around 60% of the country is desert. But then you have the Galilee, and then you have the Hermon area. So green, so beautiful. All these old oak trees. Very impressive. Now, I will stop here for just 1 second. This is the Hermon Mountain. Now, you know the word Hermon. You know the root of it, harm. You know the word for sultans had the harem with the women, right? Harem. Where's that word coming from? It's the same root. It's Semitic languages. So harem comes from, or Haram Sharif, for example, the Temple Mount in Arabic. That's how it's called, haram. It comes from sacred. It's sacred place. So in Hebrew and Arabic, in both languages, cherem, haram, okay, it comes from the same root. The idea that it's sacred. The women of the Sultan are sacred. They're only exclusive only for him. This mountain is sacred. Sacred for who? For the gods. Multiple gods, right? So we're talking about two important gods. One is called El. El is known as the sitting god. This is the little god figurine that I showed you in the beginning. And then his son is called Baal, and he's the god of thunder. And this is their domain. This is like their holy mountain. People would say, okay, it's like the Olympus, basically, okay? But it's not the only place where they dwelled, these gods. There's another place in Lebanon where these gods are. This is like the mountain of these Canaanite gods. So again, I really love this frame. So these are the pagan gods that the Canaanites believed in, and they deeply influenced, of course, the Israelites, okay? The Israelites after them. I see many questions, so Elisa, if you can monitor that and help me out, it will be very helpful. Now, Elisa, do you see done? I'm showing you now another. Yeah. Okay. So you do. Okay.
We don't have any questions. We're all good.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm trying to share my screen and move from one movie to the next without stopping the sharing of the screen. But this is the nature reserve of Dan, and this is where ancient Dan is. So I just want to show you here the ancient walls and gate of Dan. You see this arch over here called Abraham's Gate? That's the ancient gate of Dan. It's 4,000 years old. It's one of the oldest arches in the world. Okay,
That's the Canaanite gate.
the
right?
Canaanite gate, correct. So this is the Canaanite gate, and we'll talk about the history of this in just a moment, the biblical relevant verses for it. It has few different parts in Dan. One part is the Canaanite gate. Then we have this area, which is the temple of Dan. And how do we know it's the temple of Dan? How do we know it's Dan? We found an inscription that says, for the gods of Dan. So it's like Shiloh. Okay, we have an inscription that says, this is it. Okay, so, but it's also, it's not just, it's also the geographic context of it. There's a massive spring over there called the Dan Spring, one of the sources of the Jordan River. So it's like agreed among scholars that this is ancient Dan. There's no doubt about it. What you see over here, we're going to see from another angle later, but you can see this stage over here for the priests, for the pagan Canaanite priests, later followed by Greek ones. And over here, this is where the altar used to be. This metal frame over here, that's they try to recreate where the altar used to be. And it's very convincing, trust me. It's amazing. So this is done. It's so lush and green. This is clearly a very important site. Okay, Elisa, can you see the gate now?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so it works. I'm trying this new thing and just want to make sure that it works. Okay, so here we are. Thanks to Google Earth, we have lovely 360 degrees pictures of many places in the country. As we speak, really, I have my men and women taking pictures all over the country, and hopefully we'll have lots of new and fresh pictures from different sites every week. So, but this is the ancient gate of Dan. I want to read to you a verse from Genesis, and then we'll understand the significance of it. I'm reading from the story that Lot is being captured, and it says this. Now, when Abram heard that his brother was, it's not his brother, it's his nephew, but it doesn't matter. When his brother was taken captive, he armed his 318 trained servants who were born in his own house and went in pursuit as far as Dan. And then the Talmud says, he went in pursuit as far as Dan, and then he got tired. He stood over here, looked at the gates of Dan, and then he got tired. Now, look, I don't know if Abraham stood here, or he stood here, or maybe he stood here. I don't know. What I do know, he didn't stood in New York City or Virginia or anything or anywhere else, okay? But this is, again, the story speaks about this pursuit, and then Abraham stops in Dan. He stops as far as Dan, and again, the rabbis, the ancient rabbis, they tell us that he was overwhelmed from a vision that he had over there. He saw how his descendants will sin and will have the golden calf in Bethel and in Dan, okay, in the days of Jeroboam. So that's why he had to catch his breath. He was overwhelmed. And then the story goes that he continued to Damascus with Eliezer, and some rabbis said, no, he didn't go all the way to Damascus. Anyway, long story short, he was very upset from this vision that he had that his sons will sin in Dan and have the golden calf. Now, I just want to show you this, just want to give us a little better perspective. Again, we're in the northern part of Israel. I'm going now south. So again, you see how it changes, how the colors are changing, okay? So let me just go this, okay? So from Beersheba, you can imagine Abraham learning about Lot being captured. Then he ran away through Judea and Samaria, Hebron, Bethlehem area. You can see the desert. You can see how the colors are. This is all new forests planted by the JNF. But this is, take a look at the colors, just the brown and yellow. Okay, that's what I want you to see, how the colors are changing. This is Samaria, okay? Jordan Valley, this is Jezreel Valley. Jezreel Valley area, all this, very fruitful, okay, very green. Again, Jordan Valley now, the Sea of Galilee. We're getting to the Galilee. which is very green. Take a look at the forests over here. Mount Meron area, okay? Very, very green. And we get to Dan, just to the slopes of Mount Hermon, okay? This is Mount Hermon over here. Let's take another look. Okay, Dan is now, there is a kibbutz over there. And this is ancient Dan, the Tel. When I say Tel, I guess most of you are familiar with this name, with this word. Tel means archaeological hill, basically. It's an ancient hill, artificial hill. It's layers upon layers upon layers of human civilizations. And in some cases, it could be 2, 3, 4 layers. And like there in Megiddo, we'll see it's 30 layers. 30 layers of different kingdoms and empires, okay? So that's how it looks, okay? So just, I'll draw you real quick what we're gonna see, okay? This is where the Canaanite gate, just over here. Now I'm taking you to the Israelite gate, just over here, and through the trees to the temple area. That's where it is. Okay, and the rest, all the other pictures that you saw of the water, this is all this area, Dan River. Okay, one of the sources of the Jordan. Yes, exactly. Okay.
Itmar,
Yes.
which scripture did you just refer to a few minutes ago?
Genesis. I was reading from Genesis chapter 14, verse 14.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me see. No, it doesn't work now. It's slow for some reason. Okay, here we go. Yay! You see? It worked. Great. Okay, so we are at the Israelite gate. So what you see over here, we came from the Canaanite gate just over here. And if you've been to Dan, then you'll see this plaza over here. There's this plaza. This is the original floor, and you can see the gates of the city. This area is the marketplace over here. That was the marketplace. It's called in Hebrew shuk. Shuk in Hebrew and Aramaic actually means outside what? Outside the city. Okay? Now, outside the city, they had all their business. Farmers would come, livestock, etc. And they didn't want them in the city because it's foreign people. You don't want foreign people, random people walking around your city. That's part of the security. And also, you don't want the stench, smells. Okay, so when they say the markets, they actually refer to the places outside of the city. Interesting part, just outside of Dan, is this. Do you see this little altar over here? You see, it's very nicely built. Okay, I'll show you another picture on my presentation, but you can see the altar just over here, and they're actually worshiping stones. This is from the Israelite period. This is from Iron Age, so we're talking about the 9th and 8th century. All these walls are from the 9th century. So these are the gates of the city. Very impressive, massive, and this is, the fortifications are much, much more serious. It's actually one gate, and then there's another gate, and then there's another gate in this area. So anyway, just to get into the city, you have to go through this maze of gates, very, very heavily fortified. So that's this part. Okay, I'll stop this one. I want to move to the temple. Take a look at the temple just over here. This is the temple area, all of this. Okay, all of this. It has two parts, two important parts. One is the stage, one is the altar, just over here. You see this structure over here, of aluminum or something. This is the location of the altar. We know it because of the measures over there, and because of a pit with lots of bones just next to it. So it's pretty obvious that this is the altar area. And we know there was an altar. There was an altar in Bethel. There was an altar in Dan, because as we talked earlier, Jeroboam basically revolted. So let's read from the book of Kings just a little bit as I'm talking about that. Where is he? Okay, there is a revolt against Rehoboam. So it speaks, the book of Kings, the first book of Kings, speaks about how amazing King Solomon is. He's building cities. Some of the cities that he's building are Megiddo and Gezer and Dan. Okay, he's built here, for example. Oh, Hatzor, sorry. He says, and this is the reason for the labor force which King Solomon raised to build the house of the Lord in Jerusalem. Okay, his own house. That's his palace in Jerusalem. The Milo, all kinds of structures and fortifications in Jerusalem. And then it says, and to build Hatzor, Megiddo, and Gezer. So the people are mad with Solomon. He's enslaving them. He's taxing them in order to build all these massive buildings. Also, another reason why they were so upset with Solomon is he's very wealthy. And this is something that I don't know if you ever noticed that. The weight of gold that came to Solomon yearly was 666 talents of gold. What an interesting number. 666. Okay? So I think this is the only time in the Old Testament that they rephrase the number 666, and then again in the book of Revelation in the New Testament. So this is something very curious, very interesting. I think it symbolizes corruption to some extent. But he has lots of gold, is enslaving the people, and then there are lots of gifts, but the worst part is that he's getting married with so many different women, foreign women, including the daughter of Pharaoh, and they turned their heart against God. So after Solomon's death, the people of Israel, the 10 tribes, they come to Rehoboam and they tell him, your father enslaved us, just ease our yoke, okay? And then he answers, my little finger shall be thicker than my father's waist, okay? Yeah, my father Solomon enslaved you, I'm going to show you what enslaving is. And now, whereas my father laid a heavy yoke on you, I will add to your yoke. My father chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scourges. Okay, in Hebrew it's actually the word is scorpions. Scorpions are whipped with like nails or something sharp at the end. Scorpions, that's how it's called in Hebrew. Anyway, he's going to enslave them. So the 10 tribes leave, and Jeroboam said in his heart, now the kingdom may return to the house of David, because if there are holidays and the children of Israel from the north goes to Jerusalem, they will leave me. They will see Rehoboam and they will decide to go back to their master, the house of David. If these people go up to offer sacrifices in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, then the heart of these people will turn back to their Lord, Rehoboam, king of Judah, and they will kill me and go back to Rehoboam, king of Judah. Therefore the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said to the people, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Here are your gods, O Israel, which brought you up from the land of Egypt. And he set up one in Bethel and one he set in Dan. There you go. So this is the background for these temples. One in Bethel, I just showed you the rubble over there, but the other one in Dan. Now, I'm not saying this is the original one from the days of Jeroboam, although some of the foundations are very ancient, but this is, again, these remnants. So we have the altar. You can imagine there was a golden calf somewhere around here. And there is the stage just over here where the priest would do the prayers. And sometimes they would worship, the El and Baal and false gods. Okay, so that's the stage. Very interesting. Let's continue. No. Let me just. Any questions at this point?
No.
Okay, very good. So again, we are back to Baal. Now, I'll just remind you that in the book of Deuteronomy, there is the law, the principles of governing of the king, that he must not have too many horses, must not have too much gold, must not have too many wives, must not enslave the people. So basically, King Solomon did all of that. And that explains why the kingdom was splitting after his death. Okay, let's continue with a few more pictures. Again, we talked about the gate in Dan, just maybe a better resolution. You can see again, these are the original stairs to Dan. I don't know if you realize how ancient that is. This is almost 4,000 years old, this part. And this is also, the arch and everything here. This is all 4,000 years old. With some slight renovations, they added a few blocks, again, just to make sure that it doesn't collapse. And they added this roof. So because it's mud, it's mud bricks. They don't want the gate to be destroyed. Okay. Another thing that we found in Dan is the only external evidence for the house of David. It's called the Tel Dan inscription. It was found by Avraham Biran in the 90s. And it's an Aramaic inscription that was found in the gate, the Israelite gate that I showed you, not the Canaanite, not the mud bricks one, the other one. That was a sensation, and until today, this is a huge sensation. It basically speaks about how Joram, the son of Ahab, the king of Israel, and Ahaziah, son of Joram, the king of Judah, from the house of David. That's what it says, the house of David. That's what you see over here in a little bit of silver, okay? Were killed by one of the Aramean kings. We think it was a man called Hazael. You don't have to remember the names, but this is the only external, just take one thing out of it. This is the only external evidence we have for the house of David, this dynasty of the house of David. So we read about it in the Bible, later read about it in the New Testament, but the house of David was kind of it was uncertain. There was a lot of uncertainty. Who exactly is David? Is he a real father of some dynasty or not? And then we found this just at the marketplace that I showed you, just outside the Israelite wall. So this is probably the most important find in Tel Dan. Okay.
Itamar, what's the name of the inscription again?
Tel Dan inscription. Tel Dan inscription. Okay, just where it was found. So it was found in the walls around this area, like next to the gate. This is the altar that I was showing you earlier, the little altar with, again, worshiping stones, right? So of course that indicates again the pagan nature of this kingdom. Okay, any questions so far? I want to speak a little bit, Elisa, if there are any questions, just let me know, okay? Just before we jump to Megiddo, I just want to say a few words about the important prophet of that time period. I'm talking about the 8th century, early 8th century BC. Hosea. Hosea is a fabulous prophet. I mean, reading that in Hebrew, just amazing. So Hosea is doing something very radical. It's so radical that even some rabbis said he didn't really do that. It's just a prophecy. He was just saying that. He was not really doing that. So it's just in the opening of Hosea. It says this. When the Lord began to speak by Hosea, the Lord said to Hosea, "Go take yourself a wife of prostitution and children of prostitution, for the land has committed great prostitution. Be departing from the Lord." So this is a very ongoing imagery of the betrayal of the children of Israel in their God. Israel is like the wife, and God is the husband, and they betray him with other gods. That's the image. So this is again how it goes. So he went and took Gomer bat Diblaim, the daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. Then the Lord said to him, "Call his name Jezreel." Remember Jezreel Valley? Okay. "For in a little while I will avenge the bloodshed of Jezreel." Jezreel, again, Ahab story, the story of Ahab and the vineyard of Navot. So this is the background of it. On the house of Yehu. Yehu, after Ahab, Yehu kills all that dynasty, including Joram, son of Ahab. So they're talking about this murderous kingdom, that one king in the northern kingdom, every second king was killed by another man, and they took over this kingdom. So murderous kingdom. And then it says, "And bring an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel. It shall come to pass in that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel." And then she conceived again and bore a daughter. Then God said to him, call her name Lo Ruhama. Lo Ruhama means I have no mercy for her, for I will no longer have mercy on the house of Israel. So this is a few words from Isaiah. I will also conclude with Hosea, but but it just goes on and on about the adultery, the bloodshed that is going on in this kingdom. For example, it says in Hosea 4, Ephraim is joined to his idols, let him alone. Okay, just leave him alone with his idols, he cannot help it. So this is the background of the corruption that is going on in Israel. Okay, I'm going now to another, where is that? I should do this. Didn't work out the way I expected it. Just try again. So I want to show you now Megiddo, another important city. There are many cities, many important cities of Israel at that time. I showed you some of them just in the very beginning, but I'm focusing on Dan and Megiddo. So let me see. I don't know why it doesn't let me. Here we go. So let's see Megiddo together. This is again Tel Megiddo. Tel, an artificial hill. You can see there. It's like a hill, one civilization on each other. Okay, so like over here, we can see a few things. We can see the water area, water system area. We'll talk about it. We can see the stables area, and the gate to the city is around here. Let's see some more. These are the palaces area. Okay, over here. This is the main entrance today and the main entrance in the past. These are the gates area. Over here, you can see the different layers. Oh, this is good. So just, I'll even maybe draw a little bit. This is the water area, just over here. You can see the stables area. They did the math. They brought some experts in raising horses. They said there were probably about 500 horses over there. That explains the strength of Israel, definitely in the days of Ahab. It says that in one of the battles against Assyria, it had 2,000 chariots. Okay, so that explains part of their power. Again, they had lots of horses, something that is forbidden according to the book of Deuteronomy. We talked about the gates area. You can see the gate just over here. See that? See? This is the gates area, palaces area, just over here. And lots of storerooms, lots of houses. We think that it was an administration center. We're not really sure that people actually lived there. There's so many public houses over there. So we think maybe the king and his administration was there. Horses, lots of horses. You can see what a big part of the city is dedicated to the horses. And the interesting part is this was a storeroom for tons and tons and tons of wheat, probably to feed the horses. So these are the more important parts of Megiddo. Let's continue a little more. I wanted to get to another section of it. Okay, that's it. I thought there was another part. Okay. So I'm in Megiddo right now. Before I'm going back to my presentation, I just want to show you the digs that the University of Chicago did. I think in the 20s, 30s, they did this massive dig. Basically, the methodology of the archaeologists was not super developed. So what they did is they said, okay, let's just take one chunk of this mountain. Let's just dig the whole thing down. So from here all the way here, they were digging just a slice of the mountain. And they realized how many layers Megiddo has. As I said, around 30 different layers from mid Bronze Age until the Hellenistic period. So we're talking about roughly 2,500 years. Okay. Now, in this area, they have found another altar. Okay, I showed you the altar in Mount Eval. I showed you the altar in Dan. Now I'm showing you another altar. This was built by pagans that lived in Bronze Era, so 2nd millennia BC, or maybe even before that. So round altar. They actually found the stairs to it. Very interesting looking altar. That's how it looks. All the date trees that you see over here were planted by Chicago University, or these are the children of the dates that they planted because there was no shade, and their Arab workers complained and said, okay, let's plant a little bit of trees. So these are all, this is the reason why we have all these palm trees just over there. We'll get to the water system, but this is again how it looks like, just the entrance to it. lots of stairs. These are modern ones, but it relies on the more ancient ones. So this is something that we're going to see a bit closer later on. So let's go back to my presentation so we can see some interesting things that were going on in Megiddo. Megiddo, as I said, very ancient city, lots of layers. That's what you see here in this picture. Okay, again, the water area, stables, the gates. They found more than 400 pieces of ivory, decorated ivory over there. So you can see this one from Iron Age, so it's probably belongs, sorry, not Iron Age, from Bronze Age, so mid second millennia BC, 1500 BC more or less. And you can see slaves that were captured and are given to the king of Megiddo at that time. We have a few different speculations who that was, based on Egyptian inscriptions. But this is, again, just take a look at the quality of the art, okay? And again, this is just one out of 400 pieces of ivory that were found. This is the more impressive one, the way I see it. This is the gates to Megiddo. And this is from the days of either Solomon that built it, or some suggested it's from the days of Ahab, okay? Why is it so difficult to determine? They're only 100 years apart, and the carbon-14, it's not a good enough indication for that. So there is a huge dispute among scholars whether this gate is from the days of Solomon or from the days of King Ahab. I personally think it's from the days of King Ahab, but that's at least what I've studied, and I was more convinced in this assumption. You can see how massive the gates are. Yes?
Where did the ivory come from?
Ivory is coming from Africa. They were trading. Okay? We know it. Even Solomon, it says that gold and ivory was given to King Solomon. It says that in the Book of Kings. It was sent from different African kingdoms. Sheba, by the way, she's probably from Ethiopia, but there are many others. Kingdom of Ophir, there are a few other kingdoms of that time that were sending him ivory. So this is, again, these are the gates of that city. I know it doesn't look doesn't look perfect, and it's not just because it's ancient, it's also because the Chicago University tore down a lot of the structures as a part of their research. Again, the archaeology was not very developed back in the 1920s, 1930s, so that's the method they have. So it was very destructive for the object they were looking for. So you can read about it in the reports. The reports are very long, but that's the way it was. So again, this is the gates. This is the storm for the wheat that I was mentioning earlier. You can actually see the stairs going down, and this and some remains of the palaces. That's the conundrum that we have around this site. Some suggested the gates are from the days of Solomon, but the palaces and this storm are from the days of Ahab. And some other people other scholars suggested, no. The gates are from the days of Ahab, and this part, the palaces and this part and the stables, are from the days of Jeroboam II. Now, I know it was just like Chinese for you right now, but this is the main dispute, and it brings us to one conclusion. The days of Jeroboam II, I'm talking about the 8th century now, just in the midst of all this crisis between the pressure between Egypt and Syria starts, are days of wealth. These are days of wealth, okay, because Assyrian Empire is too busy with the Babylon, too busy with the Arameans, so the kingdom of Israel is thriving. There's good economy, lots of business, and this is the context of the corruption that is described both by Hosea and also by Amos. So it brings me to Amos. I just want to show you the pictures from the stable. This is, of course, a recreation, but we have parts that are original over here, where they were feeding the horses. So Amos is a very interesting prophet. He's actually not from Israel. He's from Judah. Okay, he's from Judah, and Amos is. I want to read to you something from him. what were the Israelites thinking of him? Like Amos is from a place called Tekoa, maybe 20 minutes drive from where I live. And what are you doing here even? And then he says, I have something to say to you. The Lord roars from Zion and utters his voice from Jerusalem. The pastures of the shepherds mourn, and the top of the Carmel withers. And then he has harsh prophecies against Damascus, the Arameans, against Gaza, the Philistines, against Tyre, the Phoenicians, against the Edomites, against Ammon, against Moab, and even against Judah, even against his own people. This is something that is very strange. Like when you read the first chapter of Amos, you get the feeling, okay, he's like against everyone. It's probably with Israel. Okay, it's probably with Israel. So this is just his interesting rhetoric to capture the ears of his audience. Oh, the Damascus, they are such sinners, and everyone is like raving to him. Yeah, Amos, very good. The Gaza, yeah, the Gazans are terrible. We are the good ones. And the people of Tyre are so corrupt. And then, yeah, you're right. And then he gets to Judah. He says, wow, he's even criticizing his own people. That's amazing. And then he surprised them after he got their attention, right? Thus says the Lord, for three transgressions of Israel, and for four I will not turn away its punishment, because they sell the righteous for silver, and the poor for the pair of sandals. They pant after the dust of the earth, which is on the head of the poor, and pervert the way of the humble. A man and his father go into the same girl. Okay, prostitution. To defy my holy name. They lie down by every altar on clothes taken in pledge, and drink the wine of the condemned in the house of their God. So, it's actually not the condemned; it's the people that were less fortunate. But anyway, the idea is that you're completely corrupt. Prostitution, adultery, crushing the poor, okay? All of that, he's criticizing them. After he got their attention, he's criticizing them. So I'll just say one more prophecy of him. Woe to you who put far off the day of doom, who cause the seat of violence to come near, who lie on beds of ivory, stretch out on your couches, eat lambs from the flock and calves from the midst of the stall, who chant to the sound of the stringed instrument, and invent for yourselves musical instruments like David. You appear to be righteous, but you're actually not righteous at all. You appear to be like David, but you're not David at all. And anoint yourself with the best ointments, but are not grieved for the affliction of Joseph. Therefore, they shall now go captive as the first of the captives, and those who recline at banquets shall be removed. So this is Amos surprising the children of Israel. Basically, he has very harsh prophecies, actually. He's basically telling them, you're doomed. Don't wait for the day of the Lord, because when it's coming, you'll be punished. Okay, so that's Amos. Back to our inscription, in order to conclude our visit to these two amazing cities, I want to take us out through the water system over there. So you can see these stairs leading to the aquifer, basically. It's leading to the aquifer, almost 100 feet below the city. And at the bottom of these stairs, there is a tunnel. Now, this is a very sophisticated system. It's actually, they use the water of the aquifer, and then
Isn't this the reason why it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, because of its water system?
I didn't read the declaration. I mean, I read it, but I don't remember it right now. But it's actually, we have Beersheba, Megiddo, and Dan as a UNESCO World Heritage Site together as the three tales, the three important tales, biblical tales of Israel. So I'm sure like the sophistication of this water system would probably added to the declaration, but I haven't read that recently, so I can't remember. Yeah. Anyway, as I said, they dug all the way to the aquifer from the city. So they have a secured water within the city, and they added a spring that was outside the city with a tunnel. meaning they were digging a tunnel from the location of that spring, fortifying that spring, and having this, having the water through a tunnel to increase the flow of water to their system. So that's again, the tunnel leads to this. This is the tunnel from the spring all the way to the pit, I would say, of the water system. Jeroboam II, many years ago, they found a seal of the servant of Jeroboam II. That's the king of Israel in the 8th century. So we actually have, we don't have the original now anymore. I think it was lost at some point, but we have this replica. You can see the lion, and you can see the ancient Hebrew. But as I said, they were crushed. They were crushed. I mentioned Jeroboam II as the time of prosperity in Israel. But after his death, there was a series of political assassination from Zechariah, the son of Jeroboam II, to Shalom, to Menachem, to Pekahiah, to Pekach. They were just killing each other. And at the end of it, the Assyrian kings, first Shalmaneser, then his son Sargon, they will crush the kingdom of Israel. They will capture many slaves, like if I remember the number, 30,000 slaves, and they basically that's the Assyrian Empire at the end of the 10 tribes as let's say a distinguished identity of Israel. Okay, they will be lost. So these are the lost tribes. Now, there is a prophecy in Hosea that, and the rabbis follow that, they develop it more, that basically says that there is hope. This is the reason why I'm showing you my hand over here with the tefillin. There is hope for the 10 tribes that are lost. It says this in Hosea 2nd, verse 19, I will betroth you to me forever. Yes, I will betroth you to me in righteousness and justice, in loving kindness and mercy. I will betroth you to me in faithfulness, and you shall know the Lord. So this is what we say when we wrap the tefillin around our hand, just over here, around our finger over here. So this is like getting engaged to God, getting married to God every single morning. And it's some rabbis suggested this is to commemorate the 10 tribes that are lost, but at the end of time, they will be back. So guess what? We have few traditions about the 10 tribes, and few Jewish communities actually see themselves as descendants of the 10 tribes. These people are from Uzbekistan, from a city called Bukhara. It's in Uzbekistan. So the Bukhara Jews, they speak Persian, and they have very ancient tradition that they are descendants of the 10 tribes. So this is just one. I don't know if you've ever seen Jews that look like that. These are from northern India. They have a tradition. They're called the sons of Menashe and Manasseh. So they have a tradition in northern India that some of the tribes ended up in northern India. So these are the sons of Manasseh, and many of them made Aliyah in the last, at least I think 20 years, I think, something around that.
Yeah, about 20 years.
Yeah, something like around 20 years. So you can see them, they're serving in the army, of course. Very different look than other Israelis. And we have the Ethiopian Jews that have a tradition that they are descendants of Dan. But we just started with Dan, right? Their tradition says that when Jeroboam wanted to revolt against Rehoboam, he asked the tribe of Dan, which is a very good tribe of warriors, he asked them to join him. And they said, fighting Judah? Fighting with our brothers? No way. And they left all the way to Pishon, to the river of Pishon. Some suggest it is one of the rivers that feed the Nile. So they ended up in Ethiopia. And, I think it's the Blue River, the Blue Nile, if I remember correctly. So that's the tribe of Dan. Again, they have this tradition that they are the Danites. So maybe the 10 tribes are back. that's what I have to say to you. So I decided to stop with this one. This lady is from Pakistan, actually, but I just want to show you the horn over here, the shofar. As Isaiah said, that one day, at the end of time, he will call the lost, the ones that were lost in Assyria and the ones that are forgotten in Egypt back to his country. So that would be, I would say, a more optimistic note for us to end with, and I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Thanks, Itamar. It was fascinating. It's really, really good. I enjoyed it.
Welcome. Yes. So if there are any questions, let's hear
and
them.
I just want to take a moment to thank Omer.
Oh yeah, Omer, thank you.
Omer, the video was fantastic. I believe that I'm probably speaking for everybody here, that it's just such a pleasure, and it really brings the country that much more to life. It's as you know, you can imagine it's difficult to you know, to communicate the beauty of the country and some of the specifics of these sites. You know, when we're on Zoom, I mean, let's face it, it's not like somebody's actually walking there, and to have that video available and to be able to show it, it's just marvelous. And you're so talented, and the photos and the videos are beautiful. So thank you very much for letting us use your material, and again, I can't thank you enough.
Great. I see the chat is is very busy. So Elisa, if you can.
Yeah. Let's see. Mal asked if you might discuss the reference to Armageddon, the battle near Megiddo. Good question. Yes. A little important.
Very important.
Obviously, it's discussed in Revelation. So if you could
it's in the book of Zechariah, and where is that? Okay. The prophecy, I'll try to find it for a second. I can't remember which Zechariah is that. Probably like 7. Like that. But anyway, the context is the final war against Israel. Okay, so Mel, if you can just tell me, do you know the verses? I mean, I want to read it in the right context. But basically, the context is this war against Jerusalem, and the war is not happening there actually in Megiddo. The war is happening in Jerusalem. But the thing is that they say that there will be so much bloodshed over there that will resemble the obituary or the crime that was going on in Megiddo after one of the Aramean kings died. Now, Megiddo is also associated with the place where 2 kings have died. One is called Ahaziah, son of Joram, and the other one is Josiah, which is a very righteous king. So Megiddo is always associated with wars. I told you about the 30 layers of civilizations over there. 2 Judean kings died over there, Ahaziah and then Josiah, very, very righteous king. And there was some kind of a ceremony over there, taking place over there for one of the Aramean kings. So it will be greater. Oh, no, Revelation, but I'm talking about Zechariah. The reference is actually in Zechariah. So, so back to Zechariah, he's basically saying, just like the crying was going on in this, Hadad Rimon, that's the name of the Aramean king. Just like the crying was going on over there, again, it will happen over there. So, you know what, let's read now from the New Testament. Thank you very much for that, Georgia. So it's Revelation 16. Thank you very much. Okay, behold, I am coming as a thief. Blessed is he who watches and keeps his garments, lest he should walk naked, and there see his shame. And they gathered them together to the place called in Hebrew Armageddon. Armageddon, Megiddo, the mountain of Megiddo, Armageddon. So that's the New Testament quote, but it's based on Zechariah. It's based on Zechariah, and I'll just find it right away. It's always easy for me to look for it in Hebrew. Okay, here we are.
It's our chapter 12:11.
Yeah, 12. Yeah.
But is that yours? I don't know if is yours counted.
Yeah, counted. Yes. Sometimes the verses are slightly different, but yeah. By the way, here's Zechariah 12. Yeah. What number? 11, you said?
Yeah.
Chapter 12, verse 11? Okay. Oh, here it is. In that day there shall be a great mourning in Jerusalem, like the mourning at Hadad Rimon in the plain of Megiddo. Okay, so the plain of Megiddo, the valley just next to it that we saw. Hadad Rimon is an actual king. It's an Aramean king. So just like they were crying over there, there will be a cry in Jerusalem because of that war. And the land shall mourn, every family by itself, again, because of all the bloodshed. But again, they will prevail. This is in the context of what will happen in chapter 14, that the Lord will go forth and fight against those nations as he fights in the day of battle. And in that day, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall be split in two, making a very large valley. And it goes on and goes forth that God will fight against these nations. And then the end of it, it shall come to pass that everyone who is left of those nations, which came against Jerusalem, shall go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So this is the context of Armageddon. The war is actually supposed to be happening in Jerusalem, not in the plains of Megiddo. But again, the Megiddo is a symbol of war, a symbol of bloodshed because of its important location. It's just on the important trade route between Mesopotamia and Egypt. So by far more important city than Jerusalem, but economically speaking, by far more stronger than it. Yeah, as my friend Michael, I bought.
Mike McGraw.
Yeah. Ah, okay. Good one.
Did you see the question about?
Yeah.
Wait, where did I? There was a question that I'm not sure if we answered. Susan's question about the goddess Anat at places where her consort Baal was worshipped. In Scotland, there's an ancient site to Anat and a temple on the island of Skye.
What is that? Worshipping who? Worshipping Baal?
Baal, yeah.
Never heard of it.
Okay.
Something about the word Baal. In Hebrew, Baal means husband. I don't know if you're aware of that, but it's some remnants of ancient pagan faiths and beliefs in Hebrew that we use today. Baal means husband because it does the same thing. It gives life to the land, to his sister Anat, sister and wife Anat. And just like Baal brings the rain that fertilizes the land, so does the husband fertilize his wife. Again, this is in the pagan reading and understanding of it. So we still have that. Baal, that's how we call the husbands. My wife doesn't call me Baal, my husband. She calls me my partner, something like that. And then we're like because we're both Jewish, like lawyers, right? Anyway. Yes. Any other question, Lisa? I'm all ears.
No, I don't see.
Very good.
Anything else in the chat? No.
I have one question. Sorry, of course, it's sorry, but so Itmar or Elisa, have you ever heard of? There's a tribe in, I believe it's Zimbabwe, called the Limba people, and they also claim to be descendants from one of the 12 tribes.
Yes.
But I don't know which tribe though. But yes.
I don't know if they know, if they have a tradition about which tribe. So,
okay.
Just like I said about the Jews of Uzbekistan, they just say we're from the 10 tribes, but they don't necessarily know which one. There are the Jews of Georgia. I don't know if you know that, Elisa, but they also claim to be one of the 10 tribes, Jews of Georgia.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Well, I will tell you next week's tour. I just put it into the chat just as a reminder. It's about the Southern Kingdom, ruled by the House of David for 400 years. And the prophets, particularly Jeremiah, saw what was coming and attempted to change the heart of King David and his men. And we're going to be learning about this next week, and about this chapter of biblical history. And we will walk with prophet Ezekiel to Babylon and the places where he prophesied over the dry bones of Israel to see the archaeological artifacts that bring this story very much to life. I hope you all, can join. Again, I love as much feedback as possible about the site. I know that a couple of you had some complications tonight, and I'm going to be looking into just to double check to make sure everybody's receiving their notification as soon as they register. Maybe
Elisa, I discovered what the problem was. I'm used to just Googling your name, and I didn't remember there's a change now, how you have to find the email.
It's coming from the schedule. Okay, for you. So
it's my error. Okay. I have to go with the changes. I'm keeping up.
Okay, good. So I think that pretty much sets this all up. That was the one that was a little bit more confusing. Anyway, as Elaine, you weren't here, but I was just explaining that you don't have to, if you were to buy a package, you don't have to immediately choose your tours. You can just kind of wait until you see what your schedule is like, what you want to join, and you have it like a credit in your bank, and you have a code. And if you were to forget your code, as Joy knows, you can just contact me and I can look it up in the system. So we're all good on that.
Okay.
Thanks for your patience as we're trying to work through this. Itamar?
So every week we have to wait for you to let us in?
No, you can. I just set it up
the
that
wait
way.
Room,
the waiting room. Yeah, I just had it set up that way. But no, I don't.
Because I was waiting for quite a while.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. You missed the first part of my little to do. Sorry about that. But Itamar, again, great presentation. Thank you.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes, it was great.
Next week we're crushing Israel.
Yeah, we're going to
That's it. We're done.
This week, though.
What? Sorry?
I don't really have plans to travel, but I'll try to dig something up.
Yeah.
Give another part of the country to show everybody. Thank you. Have a safe week, everyone. Please.
Your news.
Guys, thank you again for showing up. You're like family.
All right, thank you, thank you, Sheila. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Georgia, Mal, Charlotte, Susan. Thanks for coming from Finland, and Helena and Omer again. Sheila, Edward, nice meeting you. Michael, and Mal.
We'll talk soon.
Over there at Old Nation. And if anybody has wants to spread the word, please. I would very much appreciate if you wanted to distribute the site. The coupon is still good for those who haven't used it for a single tour session. So you can always redeem it now and hold on to it and use it, in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But just redeem it, register, redeem, and then use it whenever you want to use it, because it won't be good forever. And let your friends know. That would be a huge blessing for Itamar and I. Thank you.
Awesome.
All
the best.
All the best.
Bye, Lisa. Talk
Shalom.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye.